To me, three pillars of our existence are pretty much, family, fortune, and farishta, which is what I believe, a result of God, religion, everything else. When we talk about family, Sadhguru, there are few things that have always intrigued me, and I seek answers, or rather validation from a higher energy such as yourself. It's like I've always questioned why there's an organic distance between a father and son, why there is always that angst in that relationship. And I'm sure there are many in this house that have experienced that emotion in their own homes and their own environment. Where do you think the origin of that distance came?
Because every generation makes the same mistake which means they're not learning at all.
Yeah.
When we say family, in Italy, family meant crime.
Crime.
Yeah, mafia was always referred to as the family.
Family.
Yes. So in a way, it's a kind of crime. It is the most basic institution in the making of a society, but it does not mean you must remain basic, because this is a biological identity that we have. Biology is a reality, we can't deny it. Obviously, this was in some way, at least to a certain extent, our parents gave this to us, one part of it at least. Today the way it is, the way it looks is essentially because of them. Well, it was given to them by somebody else, that's another point, but to us it was given by them. So it's a biological identity. This limiting oneself to one's biological identity for an entire lifetime is a crime, because it creates so many things. In this country has suffered a lot from a long time. Just now you released the Mahabharata video. Entire Mahabharata is family problem. It is Dhritarashtra syndrome. We are still suffering. My son is best, no matter what. Even today we are suffering the same thing. My son is best and he should become the king no matter what. It's not
Some sons haven't managed very well, some have.
So, family is a basic identity that we are born with. It's a wonderful thing when you're a child, because without that family support, you wouldn't be who you are today in many ways, okay? With all due respect and regard and great respect for the family, because human creature is born in such a way that as soon as you fall out of your mother's womb, you're not ready to get up on your feet and do things like other creatures. It needs a long gestation period before a man becomes a man or a woman becomes a woman. There is a long period where the incubation of family is most important and vital, there's no question about that. But you're supposed to grow beyond that identity. But a whole lot of people just never grow beyond that identity, for which they suffer, and sometimes if they're born in certain places, they make the entire nation suffer. You are supposed to grow out of that. As a child, it's most vital that you're identified with the family. But as an adult, you're supposed to grow beyond your biology, because biology is the most basic identity. One has to grow beyond that. So having said that, is it necessary that every father and every son has to have some kind of angst? It is not about father and son, it is just two men being accommodated in the same home. When you were 8, 10, your father was godlike. So this problem started after you became 15, 16, when you want to be a man and there's not enough space. This big man is occupying too much space, and that man thinks this is my space and who's this? They can't recognize each other as father and son, because now there is no father and son, there are two men in the same house and there's not enough space. This happens not just in human families. Every creature, whether it's an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, in every creature's life, this happens, that there will be some friction and either the younger one goes out or the older one goes out. This happens everywhere, because this is not a problem between father and son. This is two men trying to share the same space and the same woman called mother to one and wife to the other.
Two men. Well, that certainly breaks a very strong myth that this country is operated with, because the problem was always meant to be two women in the same house, and you just changed it on his head, which I believe is true. Because I believe the problem lies in the fact that two men can't be
No,
accommodated.
it also happens between women in a different way.
Yeah.
But women have a way of covering their frictions in certain way. They do it in a certain way, in a feminine way.
Yeah.
Men will do it in more head-on.
Yeah.
Head-butting is the man's way. Woman's way is different. She will do it differently, but the friction happens.
And I feel it's always like the mother energy of the house that sometimes has to bear the brunt of this tussle in a family. It's also the other thing that, an offshoot of that thought, is that I believe very strongly that the people you love the most, you kind of tend to dump all your anxieties, your angers, your fears, your insecurities, all onto that one source that gives you the maximum love and the one that you love the most. Why is it that we as a human race tend to do that? Tend to lumber all our negative emotions on our most positive light source?
No, because if you try to dump it on someone on the street, they'll smash you up.
Yeah. So
You're choosing a safe place.
But is that always fair?
First of all, it's not fair for you to carry anxieties and angst and angers and problems within you, because, see, if I try to torture you, you have some defense against me. Either you will fight me or you will run away or you'll do something, you have some kind of defense. But if you start torturing yourself, this is the most helpless creature.
Right.
No, most defenseless. I'm telling you, even an unborn child, if you poke like this, he responds, he defends himself in his own little way, okay? But this one is completely defenseless. When you start poking yourself, this is a completely defenseless life. So the worst kind of torture, the lowest level of mind is one who tortures himself. But they always think they are the highest level of people. I suffer for everybody. You bloody suffer anyway. If there is everybody, you will dump it on them, otherwise you'll simply suffer.
Yeah.
People come to me and say, Sadhguru, I can't bear with my mother-in-law, she's impossible. My husband, after all, her son. My wife, oh, she's terror for me. My boss is not even human. Like this, it goes on. I tell them, you come, don't worry. I'll give you a nice place to stay, I'll give you good food. Nothing to do. For your life, I'll take care of you. Only thing is, I will make some random checks on you. When I check, you must be joyful. If you're miserable, I don't believe in feeding misery.
Right.
So, you leave them in one place for 24 hours, you will see how they will mess themselves up. So when you're alone, if you're miserable, you're obviously in bad company. Now you're thinking, because of this person I'm suffering, because of that person I'm suffering, just stay alone by yourself, without any entertainment, without texting, without television, without reading, simply sit in one place. Joyfully, let me see. Most people can't stay there for 5 minutes, believe me. They are not on Facebook, they are not on Twitter, they're not this thing because they have something to say or because they have fallen in love with the world, no. If they stay alone, they'll go crazy. That's a fact.
Sorry to break that train of thought, but what is the solution to that kind of feeling of just not enjoying your own space?
Because we have not looked at how human mechanism works. It is like you have a super sophisticated machine. This is the supercomputer. This is the machine which dripped supercomputers, isn't it?
Right.
I'm asking, have you read the user's manual? That's all it is. The entire yogic system is just this. This is not a philosophy, this is not an ideology, this is not a religion, this is not a teaching. This is just the user's manual, how your body should sit, how it must breathe, how the mind should be, how the emotion should be, how the energy should be, what are the things you can do with it, how should you keep it so that this will function at its highest possible level. See, the cell phone companies have been doing some research a few years ago and they found only 7% or only 3% of the people, no, 97% of the people are using only 7% of the cell phone's capability. We are not even talking about today's smartphones, we are talking about the dumb phones. So 97% of the people are using only 7% of a small gadget. If that is the fact, how much do you believe are people making use of this tremendous gadget? Just on the surface, because they never bothered to read the user's manual. If you tell them this, they say, Sadhguru, can you give us the user's manual? It's written into you, you have to spend some time with this. This was written by the source of creation, not by me or you, isn't it? You must learn to read. The problem is illiteracy. See, suppose you have not learned the alphabet. Well, you have learned English alphabet. Let's say I'll give you a Tamil book. You look at it, does it make any sense to you? You don't know the alphabet, it doesn't mean a thing to you because you do not know the alphabet. Now, this is the problem, that in today's society, in modern education, we have not even brought fundamental literacy towards how to read this book. Because we've never read this, by accident we are managing it. If you manage by accident, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. One moment you're happy, next moment you're miserable, one moment you're peaceful, another moment you're in turmoil. I was I'll cut the long story short. I was in Tel Aviv and somebody came and greeted me, Shalom. I said, what does that mean? He said, this is the highest way of greeting. I said, that's your opinion, but what does it mean? He said, no, this is really the highest way of greeting. I said, all right, but what does the word mean? He said, it means peace. Then I say, why is peace the highest way of greeting unless you're born in Middle East? In South India, you come up to me in the morning and say, peace. I will ask, what's wrong with you? I'm saying if you deprive yourself of something for a long time, suddenly it becomes godlike. If you've not eaten for 10 days, even if God appeared, what's the prayer? Food, of course. So, once you deprive yourself of fundamental things, I'm saying fundamental things because to be peaceful and joyful is not the ultimate goal of life. If you want to enjoy a meal, you must be peaceful and joyful. If you want to enjoy a friend, you must be peaceful and joyful. If you want to enjoy a walk on the street, you must be peaceful and joyful. If you want to enjoy simple things that you do in your life, you must be at least peaceful and joyful, if not ecstatic. So it is a most fundamental requirement. This is not happening. People are saying, this is the ultimate goal of life. Even so-called spiritual leaders are saying, peace is the ultimate goal of life. Such people will only rest in peace.